Hotep family, you're listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio. This is your host, Onitaset Kumat, the author of the Book of Power, the Pro-Black Companion, of course, Zubiri and the Moons of my Eye. Today, we're going to go right back into this new segment called Reading the Book of Power, right? This is episode 2. And as you can see, we're looking at the preview for the Book of Power, which is freely available. It's 183 pages, but, hopefully you engage it. You say to yourself, damn, I ain't got the whole book. The whole book's 500 pages. You feel me? So, I want you to check it out. And even if you say, you know what, you can't, whatever. Even if you say that, you still got yourself 200 books, right? And 200 pages of some good damn book. So already you can see we had the top 3 male speakers, and Marcus Garvey is of course one of them. This is page 35, so if you have the book, put it on page 35. And if you have the PDF, put it on page 35. We're going to start off with 5.5, Marcus Garvey, where it says, to go back to Africa. Now I'm going to let you guys know right away, this is an excerpt from Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. That's your annual reading for Umwenzi wa Undongo. The book is excellent, but needs to be edited and updated, and particularly for its spiritualism. Well, what that means is that too many times, Garvey, he's Jesus and God and all that. It's like, when we, like, what we have to understand is that we have to do, let's say, what the Greeks did, okay? Or even, let's say it this way, we have to undo what the Greeks did. That's another way to put it, okay? We have to undo what the Greeks did. All right. So what the Greeks did is that they had ancient Kemetu Medu nature, and they changed them to the Greek. I don't know what they even call them, but I guess the gods of the Greeks. I don't know, but they changed it to that. So they had Tahuti. They had let's say Kensu. They had Heru, they had Asar Set. They changed them to, Aphrodites and Apollo and all that kind of stuff. Or maybe the Romans did that. But you understand that they changed, like the Romans did what the Romans changed the Greeks. You get what I'm saying? So the Greeks changed Medu Necher, the Necheru, and the Greek, so basically we got to undo that. That's what I'm saying. All right? And the thing is that you see that corruption, I'll call it corruption. You see that corruption or that perversion even inside of the legends like Marcus Garvey. So that's why I would say, look, edit, update, and everything will be a lot better. But anyway, let's go back. This portion relates to, we do not all want all the Africans here in Africa. Okay? So Garvey's like this. He doesn't want all the Africans here in America and Africa. And this is the truth, right? And I say it this way. We don't fight for the Askari. But there are other things here we don't endorse, right? So one thing that Garvey does promote is the brotherhood of Africans with hybrids is not a concept for us, and the appeal to whites is not a pursuit of ours, right? You do not. See, one of the other things you're going to pick up in this book of power is that white people try to push onto you this brotherhood, okay? If you don't understand, one thing you want to really figure out is that what the Greeks did when they took the pantheon of the ancient Kemetu, and they made it a pantheon for the Greeks, is that they said to themselves, look, we, the Greek, are now divine as well. Or we white folk can be divine as well. Right? You don't want to give brotherhood to these Wazungu, and you do not want to give divinity to these Wazungu. Okay? You, as an African, are the divine. You, as an African, need to have fraternity among yourselves. So that's another concept that Garvey does, that we're just like, nah, let's get out of here, right? Whites fought for us to be suppressed and have no interest in our autonomy. Again, they have no, and this is the highlight. This is why you want to read good books. This is why you want to read good literature, because when you read good literature, you see the use, that's very particular. They do not have any interest in our autonomy. White folk are okay with being your friend. White folk are okay with laying down with you and experiencing your body, right? They are not interested in your autonomy. Matter of fact, I could even say this. I got a family member who messing around with a Wazungu, I guess, right? And that Wazungu is pissed at me because I don't work for her. You know what I mean? But basically, he married this Wazungu, right? Or this Mzungu. He married this Mzungu, and because of that, she works him. You understand? She makes him feel bad that he's not bringing in enough money, so he now has to appeal to his other family members to work for him to get. And I'm like, look, I don't work for no cracker. Period. I mean, that's it. But you have to realize that the thing that they don't like is when you are autonomous. The thing that they don't like is when you have autonomy. I one time sat down next to this cracker, right? And they asked me what I did. And I was like, look, this is what I do for work. This is what I do for money. And they was just baffled, flabbergasted. Because they like, here's this Negro, right? He ain't working for no damn white person. Here's this free Negro, more free than me. You understand? Because this white person was like going through like hardships or something. You know what I mean? And they just like, what? Like, let's flat, like, whole face baffled. Because, you know, they're ready to hear your sob story. You know, that's how when you talking to them. You know, you like, well, you know, only that has reparations. You know, I mean, I go to work for 8 hours, 10 hours sometimes, and I'm good home till, you know, they want to hear that. That, you know, and in the back of their mind, they sympathize and they want to, you know, rub your head. They probably want to, like, you know, sleep with you or something, right? But they want to hear your little sob story, right? But then if you go to them, you say, look, nah, I make bread. You understand? I make bread and I don't, you know, I don't do nothing. I ain't do nothing to get these crackers richer. They say, wait, hold on. You understand? They say, hold on. So you mean to tell me you were stolen and you free now? That's what they ask. But, you know, because I don't talk too much about money. I shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? I just slipped out. If this wasn't live, I would have deleted it. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't live, I would have deleted it, you know. And I mean, I already heard that, you know, not too many people even listening, so, you know, it's all good, you know what I mean? You know, secret's safe, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, let's keep going. They will not fight on our behalf. Again, this white boy's not going to fight on your behalf because your goal is autonomy. If you are fighting for autonomy, listen to me. See, one thing you got to know, for instance, you can't share autonomy. You understand? Like, there's a lot of things you can share. You know, you can share a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You know what I'm saying? You can share a block of cocaine. You can't share autonomy. All right? You can't share a government. Because if you share a government, somebody got to compromise. Right? Somebody got to compromise, but and when you do a compromise, you don't get that autonomy. You understand? And now, of course, you know, I'm not saying there's no good compromise on the planet. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying there's no good compromise on the planet. What I'm saying is that if one person want to go left and one person got to go right, because sometimes you go in opposing directions. If one person want to go left, one person want to go right, one person gonna win. At most, one person could win. If you got to move as a unit. And so you as an African, you want to go, let's say, I'll just use left. You want to go left. Wazungu want to go right. Okay? Now you start taking them left, right? You start taking them left. You better be prepared to fight. But he's not gonna fight on your right to go left. You feel me? They're not fighting on your behalf. So Baba, right? And this is Marcus Garvey, was the most intelligent man of his time. White propaganda reached even his intellectual height. That's something you have to realize. If the most intelligent man of his time is still talking sometimes some nonsense, right? You know, oh yeah, the white man, you know, you gotta be brother of the white man, right? Then you know propaganda ain't nothing to mess with. Their propaganda, and this is it. This is back then. Their propaganda has strengthened, so we have much work to do. Baba was more than 6 million strong. His organization was more than 6 million. You don't have an organization like that today. Why? How you had that 100 years ago? How you had that 100 years ago? Imagine what that could mean for Africans disciplined and organized for more than an appeal, right? So if we were 6 million strong, disciplined and organized, right? Again, there's only one way to find out, so you got to organize your boko. It's nation time. That's all I'm going to say. Then we're going to get into Marcus Garvey, all right? But anyway, thanks everybody for joining me. You know, please drop a comment, drop some likes, tell your friends to subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed and all that. And if you have any questions, feel free, right? But we're going to get right into the program. Let's go. The thoughtful and industrious of our race want to go back to Africa because we realize it will be our only hope of permanent existence. And this is the thing I want to say too. Real talk. Because you're going to see that he kind of don't, like, you're going to see that, you're going to concede, for instance, that maybe this is not too accurate in the sense of this. You could exist somewhere and have no autonomy. And that's what you have right now. If you recall, matter of fact, I think it was last week, there was this incident in Texas. Not incident, but in Texas, Texas is like the hottest state in America, right? And what happened in Texas was they don't winterize, okay? They're not prepared for no snow because they're the hottest state. It's like, think about the equator in Africa, right? Ain't nobody in Africa prepared for no snow. They're the equator, right? It's not in no mountains, right? But anyway, climate change, global warming, all that, right? So climate change happens, it's snowing, and it's brick. It's like 4 degrees Fahrenheit, which I don't know what that is in Celsius, but let's just say it's cold, okay? Water system collapses, right? Water stopped working. Power grid fails, right? Power stopped working. Black folk there, they had no say in this. In fact, some even white folk, matter of fact, some white folk had the electric bill coming back, and it's $5,000, $6,000, whatever, because the electric company gouged the price. Again, black folk had no say in this. You could exist somewhere, right? But to not be autonomous, what is that? You understand? What is that? To not have autonomy, what is that? So we cannot all go in a day or a year, 10 or 20 years. It will take time under the rules of modern economics to entirely or largely depopulate a country of a people who have been its residents for centuries. But we feel that with proper help for 50 years, the problem can be solved. So he's trying to repatriate, right? He's trying to repatriate. He says, look, we can take a considerable number of black folk to Africa, right? If we set up the system, and the truth is this, like, real talk, look, let's be honest. You don't got to take no black folk to Africa. You don't got to, because there's plenty of black folk in Africa already. You understand? There's more black folk in Africa than there are outside. So you really, real talk, don't even have to concern yourself with that. The thing that you want to concern yourself with is that if black folk want to go and have a life free, have a life where they can participate in the autonomy of their nation, then they can go. And they can go to Africa. That's all you want. You don't got to worry about, if you're worried about black folk who go and look, you realize this. Garvey says this 100 years ago. Black folks still here whining and, doing whatever they're doing, right? Don't even sweat them. Don't even sweat them. They're going to be doing that for another 100 years. If they survive. Which they might. But no autonomy. What you have to do is you have to figure out, how can I be in the land of my ancestors? How can I individually be in the land of my ancestors? That's all you need to think about. All right? That's all you need to think about. Y'all give me the ashe. Right here. Papyrus says, Garvey himself never once stepped to Africa. Why follow his philosophy? Yeah, Garvey was on his way to Africa. But because he was a threat to the imperialist system, they blocked him. You understand? Like, essentially this. If he were to go into Liberia, right? England and France, via Sierra Leone and I can't remember the other nation, but these two nations that border Liberia would have invaded. Because what everybody understood about the situation of Garvey was that if he got into Liberia, he could have taken over the government. Okay? You're talking about 6 million people across the world. 6 million Africans across the world. And you're talking about, I think Liberia had like 5,000 people who could vote. Okay? So if you convince maybe not that little, but it might have been that little. So if you have 5,000 people who can vote, and you're 6 million strong, all you got to do is convince them to vote for a program along the lines of what you're doing, which is some good governance, as opposed to what you had already, which was kowtowing to the British, kowtowing to the French, so on and so forth. If you could convince it, or kowtowing to the Americans especially, if you could convince a small electorate to vote in radical nationalists, right? Africa could have been, like decolonization would have been accelerated. That's why you listen to Garvey. Okay, that's why you follow what Garvey was saying, because everyone understood that what he was doing would have decolonized Africa sooner. What he was doing decolonized Africa, period. But it would have been sooner if he had touched down. So they said, no, you're not going to touch down. And you got to understand, that's how Wazungu understands things. They stop people who they know are doing something. You know, I think it was, might have been Alma Carr, no, I think Sekou Touré who said, look, if the enemy's not doing anything against you, you're not doing anything against the enemy. You understand? If the enemy says, because even if I want to go to Africa, right? If I want to go to Africa, I got to tell the U.S. government, you know? In fact, I got to apply for a visa to whatever country I'm going to, and they're going to contact the U.S. government and say, hey, can this guy come? Or something along those lines. You know what I'm saying? Or even that, I would have to contact the whatever country I'm going to, you know, apply for a visa there, and they'll have to check with their database and say, hey, is this person good? Is this person on one of your lists? You know? Or is this person we gotta watch? Or we gonna watch? Basically, you can't just enter up into anybody's nation. And if you are doing something that either threatens that nation or the nation that you're even coming from sometimes, right? If you're doing something that threatens that nation, then they will block you. Okay? When Garvey was going to Liberia, he was finna sabotage it. No cap. Because he was like, look, this government in place right now is too weak for a strong Africa. And they just got word of it. And you'll see that, you know, when you get the Book of Power, you'll see in the back, or even I think it might even be the preview, but you'll see that there's a passage that said the essay that destroyed the Garvey movement, right? And you read that, because in that essay, you're going to see that Garvey had like there was a private, and it's a matter of fact, it's inside of Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, but you'll find that Garvey's assistant, like I think his name was Elias Garcia or something, right, was saying to Garvey, look, these people ain't really governing well. They're not trying to govern well. They could grow so much rice around them, but they're not doing it. They're sitting around looking for, you know, handouts from Wazungu. They're looking to go on vacation in England and France. They're looking to get educated in England and France and have a delicate life in Africa. They're not looking to work hard. They're looking to work, period. And so the guy writes this, and then somebody leaks it. You know, out of some legal dispute, they leak it to the U.S. government, and then they post it around, and then, you know, but they're saying, look, this government is not good for the people. You know, but and the thing is this: when you really read this letter, and again, it's in the Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey as well as the Book of Power. But when you read this letter, you see this is what neocolonialism was, or this is what neocolonialism is. That there was the pattern that what was happening in Liberia eventually is what became what was happening all over Africa. There's a program set in place, and Garvey was the person who was opposed to that program. You know, because the program happened. Anybody can go to Africa. A lot of people can go to Africa. Garvey couldn't. There's a reason. There's a reason. But that's why you follow him. Now, of course, you do it on the hush hush, but that's why you follow him. But yeah, thanks for the question. That's a good question. You know, and anybody else got a question, you know, just let us know. Let me know. We do not want all the Africans here in Africa, right? And that's the facts. We do not want. Matter of fact, look here. The way how you got to look at it is that, look, you don't even want none of the Africans here in Africa. You know, except the ones who are good. Real talk. You want the nation builders, because there's a lot of people who want to be lazy about. Look, they can lay about and lazy about in America. They can lay about anywhere. Real talk. But you want the Africans who are looking to build, develop, take part, take hold, take charge. That's what you want in Africa. That's how it is all the time. Some are no good here and naturally do no good there. The no good Africans will naturally die in 50 years. Now again, we ain't necessarily die. I shouldn't say we, but the Africans here didn't necessarily die per se, but they dead. You understand what I'm saying? I remember when I was younger, people would say, "Oh, we call them Negro because Negro's like necro." You know, necro meaning like zombie, like you dead already, right? Like you dead already. You know, but it reminds me of another joke that some people said, you know, a person would die at 20. Like they go to work at 20, they'll die at 30, and they'll be buried. No, in fact, they go to work at 20, they die at 25, and they get buried at 80. You know what I mean? Like they just living dead for some, you know, 55 years or something. You understand? But that's how a lot of us are. You know, you might not say we dead, but you look at this Texas situation. A lot of people were sitting down in the cold, starving, no food, nothing to do. Their house leaking or something. Water coming in, pipes broken, and they're just sitting down waiting for this white boy to come fix it. Waiting for this white boy to turn the power back on. A lot of people died that way. In fact, they found some old white guy. I think it was an old white guy. But they said some guy found dead, sitting in his recliner in the freezing cold. You know, like, and I'm not saying, look, you know, I understand it. You know, winter comes, you're not prepared. What you gonna do? You know, you don't got, you know, 20 cans of beans in your pantry. You know, you know, like you can't cook, you can't whatever. All your food's spoiled in the fridge because you're used to modern stuff. You don't have like you don't keep your meat in a salt container. You know, you live in modern. I get it. But chances are, if you know good here, you're probably not going to be any good in Africa, so we ain't really sweating you. Okay? If all you want to do is sit here until you die, then go ahead. Go ahead. Nobody's sweating you. Africans who's wrangling about and fighting for social equality will naturally pass away in 50 years. Okay? So Garvey was like, look, they're going to pass away. And you see, there was a resurgence. Listen to me, too. There was a resurgence in nationalism in the 60s or something. And it was partly because of Garvey. You know, like I think his wife or his widow, right, reprinted his book, and then that like got a, you know, Black Panthers come out, you know, Malcolm X and all that, you know. But again, you know, you just pass away. You're not doing nothing, and yield its place to the progressive African who wants a society and country of his own. That's what we want. That's what we need. A society and country of our own. Africans are divided into two groups, the industrious and adventurous, and the lazy and dependent. Well, there it is. The industrious and adventurous believe that whatsoever others have done, it can do. The Universal Negro Improvement Association belongs to this group, and so you find us working 6 million strong to the goal of independent nationality. Who will not help? Only the mean and despicable, who have never to himself had said, this is my own, my native land. Africa is the legitimate, moral, and righteous home of all Africans. And now that the time is coming for all to assemble under their own vine and fig tree, we feel it our duty to arouse every African to a consciousness of himself. It is our duty. Now again, like I said, you don't have to sweat it. You know, I used to organize with this good, powerful, radical movement in Brooklyn. Okay, there was a sister there. She was wonderful. Older sister, right? Elder, right? And she said, look, back in the day, you know, because she used to mobilize and organize. She was organizing for a long time, like, you know, 60s and all that, right? Or 70s or whatever, right? And she said, look, one of the models they used to have was don't leave anybody in complete darkness, right? That means that you would talk to somebody, you would engage them, and they would be like, I don't want to hear nothing, right? Whatever, that's fine. Because as long as you just put a light in the darkness, you good. You did your job. Because sometimes you engage somebody and they're like, yo, I'm totally with it. Or like, oh, let me hear more. I want to learn more. And sometimes you engage somebody like, kill that noise. But you see, you leaving something for them, and they in the future, it could develop into something. They might turn on the light bulb. It might not. But your whole thing is just to not leave people in complete darkness. You don't have to give them the whole light. If they want the whole light, you already know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, I would recommend the Book of Power, obviously, but even then, you could do the pro-black opinion, or you could even do Marcus Garvey, you could do Robert Walker, you could do whatever. But the point being that you don't, you don't have to work everybody to, oh yes, it's okay. It's okay. You probably can't. What you don't get today, you can get tomorrow. And by tomorrow, I mean when you have a powerful African nation, everybody's going to want to go anyway. And that's what you really got to work on. A powerful African nation. Because that's what happens right now. People want to go to Japan. People want to go to China. People want to go to America. People want to go to England. People want to go to France. People want to go to Sweden. People want to go places where stuff is functional, where stuff is good, where stuff is working, where stuff is positive. I mean, Rwanda got a good reputation. Ghana got a good reputation, so on and so forth. But you want it to be up and up. You want it to be better. You want it to be bold. You want to be like, damn. You know what I mean? Like if I have let's say $2,000 in the bank, and I want to go on. No, matter of fact, let's say $5,000. I want $5,000 in the bank. I want to go on a vacation, right? Let's say I don't know nothing. Where do you think I'm going? You understand? If somebody makes a list, some people make lists. Top 10 vacation spots, right? I'm not saying that you want people to go on vacations, but you also gotta realize this is a reality. You working hard, you finally saved up $5,000. Now, top 10 vacation spots. What does that mean? What comes to your mind? You already know. You already know. Top 10 tourist destinations. What comes to your mind? Like what countries? You don't even gotta say it. You know what's coming into your head. But what you can do is you can build it so that when somebody says top 10, anybody says top 10, it's somewhere in Africa. Okay? It's somewhere in Africa, not just anywhere in Africa. But somewhere that our people are running and doing good, and it's going to benefit us in a good way, in a good sense. You understand? And I mean, even then, you don't really care for no Wazungu going on vacation there. Although I could admit that one of his brothers, I didn't really agree with him at the time, but he was telling me he likes OPM, other people's money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like you could probably just put these white folk in like a little corner somewhere. You know what I mean? But just get the OPM. But outside of that, you have to realize what we have to really be about, which is that autonomy. But let's keep going. Whites and blacks will learn to respect each other when they cease to be active competitors in the same countries for the same things in politics and society. And again, you're not really looking for the respect of other people, but this is really the whole origin of Trump. The fact that, real talk, white folk, if y'all remember back in the Obama ages, white folk didn't like Obama. And the only reason why they didn't like Obama was because he was black. Or mulatto, or whatever. But the point is, the only reason why they didn't like him was because of that. Because of that melody. That's the only, because he was like, hey, look, he's competing with me for the same thing that I want. I want power in my country. And this dude come out of nowhere, he got it. So they had like, I think it was like a tea party, and it was just a bunch of dunks, white folk, and then eventually they had a whole celebrity as president. But that's what it is. It's like, look, we would rather the dumbest or the worst white person over the best black person. Or, some people say he's not black. That's fine. But you understand what I'm saying, right? So let them have countries of their own. Let white folk have countries of their own wherein to aspire and climb without rancor. The races can be friendly and helpful to each other, but the law of nature separate us to the extent of each and every one developing by itself. Again, you're not really looking for friendliness and helpfulness, but you also have to understand what friendliness and helpfulness means. Like in reality, right? You're ruling a nation, you're gonna want to be quote unquote friendly and helpful. Let's just be realistic, okay? See, because Garvey's a thinking man. Garvey's an intelligent man. What he's saying is pretty intentional here. Okay? What friendly means is that you're not necessarily at war or at each other's throats every damn hour of every damn day. You understand? Like America and Russia are friendly. or America and Russia, well, they're not necessarily helpful, but they're not necessarily unhelpful in a sense. I mean, I guess they're unhelpful, but the point being that that's what you expect, as opposed to just like bombing each other for 100 years, because that right there is a little bit difficult to keep going. You know, you can't just keep bombing millions of people and then expect to exist as a nation for long. And that's just reality. Okay, that's just reality. It's the same with the police and all that. The police, yeah, they're killing black folk, but if they were straight up every day, killing like 1,000 black folk, like eventually there'll just be no black folk. You understand? And I mean, and the thing is, they can do that, but it's just not. You know what I mean? Like that's just real life. Just real life, right? So we want an atmosphere all our own. We would like to govern and rule ourselves and not be encumbered and restrained. We feel now just as the white race would feel if they were governed and ruled by the Chinese. Understand that. But if the Chinese were ruling America, they would fight or they would leave. That's it. If we live in our own districts, let us rule and govern those districts. If we have a majority in our communities, let us run those communities. Now again, you're probably not going to have this autonomy in America, but because you're a minority. But we form a majority in Africa, and we should naturally govern ourselves there. That's it. We form a majority in Africa, and we should naturally govern ourselves there, just like we form a majority in the Caribbean. Okay? We don't form a majority in America. No man can govern another's house as well as himself. Let us have fair play. Let us have justice. This is the appeal we make to white America. Now again, it's not an appeal. You don't have to appeal. As a matter of fact, as Papyrus said, Garvey should have just went to Africa. Garvey should have just been in Africa. Alright? Because appealing to people in America to do it, forget it. That's the same like me right now. I'm just like, look, just go to Africa and see what could be done. And see, even then though, you have to realize that if you have to play the game. And then I shouldn't even say it's a game, but you got to play the part where you're like, look here, I'm going to help out this government right now, and eventually I'm going to have a role in the government. I'm helping out the government, so eventually I can have a role in the government, or I can influence who is elected, who is selected, so on and so forth. Okay? You want to influence the government, but you have to be helpful to them, because right now, especially a lot of these countries, government will get you if you're talking about, oh, I want to get rid of these people. Unfortunately, like I put it on Twitter, so if you're not following my handle on Twitter, it's at Onitaset, right? And you can look up my name. But Africa used to be the land of civil liberties. But now you don't really have any. You could get arrested, you could get tortured, you could get kidnapped. Africa used to be a land where you could get exiled and have your own autonomy. If you were really at odds with the law of the land, you could get they say, all right, go out, take whoever agrees with you. You go build your own community if you think you're so smart. That's where a lot of these ethnic groups come from. You think you're so smart? Go build your own community. We'll see how it go. Right? Now you got prisons. You got political prisoners. You got political assassination. You don't want that. So if you go wherever country you go and you say, look, I want to develop here, right? You might have to, at least wherever you are, you might have to say, look here, I'm gonna help them out. Okay? I'm gonna overlook a lot of things. I'm gonna help them out. Now you could also, do your little sabotage in the neighboring country. You understand? But the reality is that that's just the life we're going. Now Brother Touré says at Papyrus, WTF does that have anything to do with? But like again, I think Papyrus was Papyrus was just asking a good question. Papyrus was asking a good question. And it's like that's just how it is. Sometimes you gotta do. It's like one of the critiques people have of America is that America goes by do as I say, not as I do. Garvey is telling you to go back to Africa, and a lot of our people right here in America are saying, hey, go to Africa, but they're not in Africa, and that's where the contradiction comes. Because the same thing could be said about Amos Wilson, the same thing could be said about any of them. They're like, hey, look, we gotta have a power base in Africa. You build power by being there. Now, I'm not gonna say that you have to necessarily be there, but you kind of do. You know, the power in America, right? Part of the reason is because America is local. If America wanted to have power in another country, they set up an embassy. Okay, they set up a military outpost. They set up something. They actually physically go to that country. Okay? You know, if America wants to exercise power in Haiti, they send in the troops. They physically go there. We have to actually physically be where we say we want to strengthen and empower. And of course, Garvey had his reasons. You know, Garvey had his reasons, but at the same time, you know, it's not like it's like you ask a question and there's a grain of truth there. We have to try to get into the greater truth. So I think Brother Ray continues to say, people always bring that up and has no relevance to the grand scheme of things. People are so ignorant. Ignorant is not a basis for an argument. WTF has you or anyone who says that contributed. Yeah. Oh yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, people always bring up and has no relevance to the grand scheme of things. You know, people are so ignorant. Ignorant has no basis for an argument. Yeah. I mean, look. Sometimes things like sometimes that's just how it is. You know, it's an opportunity for you. You know. Like, it's an opportunity, even though sometimes there's ignorance. Like I was saying, you know, don't leave people in total darkness. You know, you don't even have to. Like, that's another way of going about it. You don't have to feel any type of way about a person's questions. You know, like even saying you don't have to defend Garvey because Garvey is he's so up there. He's reached such a high height. He's so esteemable that we don't even have to defend him, because his record speaks for itself. You know, 6 million Africans organized under him, right? That right there is incomparable. Nobody since has done anything on a non-governmental level. You know, so he's just a splendid example, and even then, it's just a matter of I mean, like you said, though, it's like a logical fallacy. You know, it's an ad hominem. Why follow somebody because they don't blah blah blah? That's good. It's an ad hominem. It's a distraction. It's a non sequitur, like you said, right? But all the same, you know, it's an opportunity for us to say, you know what, we do have to be on the continent. If we're talking about building up power, we have to be on the continent. You know, and I mean, it might be ignorant, but there's also a statement there. It's a grain of truth there that. Let's step onto Africa and build up our continent, because our mother is calling to us, or our mother wants us. All right? Even if we're already on the continent, our mother wants us to do things on that continent. And that's what we have to do, you know? But anyway, family, unless there's any more questions or comments, you know, thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for listening, and this was me reading the Book of Power on episode 2. Make sure you guys drop that like. Make sure you get some people to subscribe. Make sure that you tune in next week, because you know this is happening every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But otherwise, I appreciate everybody who listened and everybody who will listen. You know, and I hope to hear from you all again. Shem Hotep.